how to become the smartest person in any room without reading any books. Again, this is not because I've got an IQ of 400 and you're an idiot. This is just a concept I learned from Krishnamurti that has changed my life. It's in his book, Think on These Things, and I thought I'd share it with yourself. So firstly, I want to talk about the concept of education and what an education is. I guess the idea is that Krishnamurti puts forward is that, what is actually the purpose of an education? Of course, there is the one form of education, which is the sort of practical knowledge where if you're going to become an engineer, you have to go and study engineering books. If you're going to become a doctor, yada, 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 you get it. But is that all that it does? Is that the only function that education serves in the world? Or is there another purpose to it? And in Krishnamurti's book, Think on These Things, he posits that there is another purpose to education entirely, and that is to understand what the fuck is going on in life. Why is it that in the morning, when you open your eyes, anything happens at all? Why am I Scottish with a dodgy fucking accent because I'm living in Colombia and I'm speaking to foreigners all the time? Why is everyone so fucking depressed and anxious in the modern world? Why do I feel the exact same as I did when I was 13 and yet feel completely different? Why do I feel completely relaxed around someone on Tuesday, and then when I'm around them on the Wednesday, I'm anxious and I can barely string a sentence together? And I'm on the cusp of trying to sound profound here, so bear with me. But the human life is completely different whether you're born in the fucking slums of Bangladesh or you're born into a middle class family in a little village in Scotland. Life is the Masai Mara tribe traipsing 25 kilometres through the bush with wooden spears to try and chase down a gazelle. It's also some fat cunt sitting on a bench in New York eating a hamburger with ketchup dripping down onto his shirt on his lunch break. And Krishnamurti posits that the goal of us as human beings, and I found this very liberating, is to pay attention to our direct experience around us in order to understand what it means to be alive, what the truth of reality is. Life itself is the great teacher. God, that sounds so profound. Life itself is the great teacher. But it's true. And he brought forward this idea that it's not about, reading all these books, and education doesn't lie in books or teachers or gurus or listening to fucking Jordan Peterson talks on YouTube, which we've all done. It lies in direct experience of everything that's happening around you, because by its nature, if you are listening to what someone else is telling you about the truth of reality, for example, their truth about reality, Jordan Peterson's 12 rules for life, those are his rules for his life. You know what I mean? That's the truth, the rules that he's discovered that have helped him through his life, for better or worse. He doesn't seem like the happiest man in the world to me. Anyways, it's not a Jordan Peterson conversation. But the point is that by getting your information filtered through other people, you take in their beliefs, their perceptions, and their opinions. So what's a better thing to do, according to Krishnamurti, is to pay attention to the direct experience that's happening around you, because life is the greatest teacher that you could ever ask for. And how you do that is by paying attention to your reactions to things. Why do I always get anxious in this situation? Why do I seem to have an aversion to this person? Why am I drawn to reading about these topics? Why do I randomly start singing and whistling after I complete a piece of work that I enjoyed doing and I feel like I did a good job with? And this process helps you gradually, bit by bit, sort of get closer towards the kind of life that fits for you, that is in alignment for you. And it also helps you to understand, other human beings, because if you understand yourself completely with all your anxiety, jealousy, envy, greed, despair, everything, then you can recognize it better in other people, and you can see in other people when they're behaving out of, that same energy that you recognize in yourself. I guess it gives you, is that empathy. But of course, it's not just about you, because there's the external world as well. And so by paying attention to everything that happens around us, every bee, bird, conversation, piece of body language, you can start to understand what the truth of reality is as well. By paying attention to the body language and the tone of the Uber driver, you start to understand the emotional state that he's in at that point. By watching the behaviour of the children, you get to understand who the parents are. By looking at the facial expressions of the person in front of you on a date, you can tell whether they fancy you or not. And this is not an exhaustive list. The point is that there's a lot to learn, and that you can learn just by paying attention to everything around you. I can give you an example in my life. I was reading this book, Think on These Things, Krishnamurti, I'll drop it in there again, on a train in Scotland. And this lassie got on next to me, and she slammed down her bag on the train, and she scraped a can of Tennent's along the top surface of the train table, which, if you're from the UK, is a sound that's permanently, embedded into your brain. Cracked open the can, started glugging it unceremoniously. And I was sitting there reading my wee book. It was a Friday night. I was thinking I was all holy and mighty. I was like, look at me, I'm reading my wee spiritual book at 8 p.m. on a Friday night. I'm not even drinking tonight. Look at how amazing I am. And I started judging this lassie, a belter. And I started thinking, how unclassy Scottish people are. No offence. How much grace I think we lack in comparison to other people. How much Scottish women often lack femininity. They're very masculine. All these judgments about, like, I'm here, she's here, I'm here, Scottish culture's there, whatever. And then she got on the phone to her pal, and because I wasn't listening to headphones because I was trying to be aware, she started speaking to her pal, and I was listening to it, right? And talking about a fairly traumatic experience she just had at the train station. She was wearing a cowboy outfit. She was wearing a cowboy outfit, and she was going out for a night out, and she was standing at the station, and she saw some people she knew, and then two young lads who were across the station shouted at her. They shouted at her, "Do you ride dick as well?" And albeit it's absolutely hilarious, but still, like, these 14-year-old lads, she's 24, and she's absolutely mortified. She's at the station, she knows people, there's all these people around us, and these lads have created a scene around her, and she doesn't have anywhere to go because the train's not there yet. And it made me think loads about, no wonder she's fucking glugging that can of Tennent's, because she's just had a traumatic experience. She's trying to kind of laugh it off when clearly she wanted to cry. And I'm thinking how quick I am to fucking judge when this lassie's, trying to numb the pain and forget about this horrendous experience she's just had, being embarrassed by 14-year-olds when she's, an adult. She's 24. And it also made me think about, I got this, like, feeling about, the kind of plight of women in the modern world, a thing that I definitely don't understand, as I'm not a woman, as far as I know, yet. But it made me think about, the lived experience of women and how different that is to men. Even though I've been accosted by little Neds in a station many a time, but it doesn't really happen too much after you become an adult. So the fact that these two 14-year-olds still had the power to almost maybe even ruin the night of this lassie just goes to show how different it is, the experience of being a woman than being a man in the modern world. And I don't have anything super profound to tell you about that. I haven't come to any conclusions, but it was this feeling of information coming to me that gave me a slightly new perspective that changed my mind. So that's my little example I'll give you for what it means to pay attention and educate yourself with the world around you. Now, I'm not saying to, never read a book again in your life. Obviously, I still read books all the time. All I'm saying is that maybe it's an idea to potentially consider, valuing your own opinions, beliefs that you can glean through personal direct experience with reality in your day-to-day life, and that actually learning through observation rather than through information is a more nutritionally dense way to learn and understand reality. And this has been my personal experience, because it's something, every little golden nugget of information, of wisdom, knowledge that you get just by living your life and paying attention just feels so different than having, reading a book by the Buddha or by Michael Singer or by anyone, and them telling you how it all is. Because for the first time in my life in the last year, I really think I've actually started to kind of start to figure it out on my own without needing anyone else to tell me, where to look. And it's a powerful feeling. So I think I'll leave it at that. Cheers.